Everybody, welcome again to Fins and Scripts with your host Stephen Lawson. I am going to be sharing with you guys. This might end up being a pretty long video. I've got quite a few baits over here to my right. I bought quite a few lures today. A lot what I needed, a lot of just things I wanted. I was lucky enough to get a Bass Pro Shops gift card for Christmas. So I didn't want to show all these baits all at one time. I didn't want you guys thinking that I just ran out to the store and dropped a stupid amount of money on things. I shopped wisely. That's why it may look like I have a lot here, is because I found things on the clearance rack. I just made 2 videos about fishing on a budget where I told you guys, I went on Facebook, I got things used, I went to the clearance racks, I compare shopped. I bought lures that are made by Bass Pro Shops that do the same things that some of these big high dollar name brand bait companies do. There's 2 lures over here I've been wanting to try. They're called River to Sea Whopper Plumbers. They're a little bit on the pricier side, but they're like one of a kind. So you can't find things like them that are cheaper, or at least I haven't found anything yet. If I ever do, I'll let you guys know, because they're pretty stinking cool, and I'll tell you why. But what I'm going to be telling you guys about is a little bit different features of some of these baits. I'll throw features in there. The main thing I'm going to be talking to you guys about, and the title of this video is going to be water clarity and how to pick your lures. I haven't decided on a title yet. Who knows? But it's all about water clarity. And, I'm going to make this super, super, super simple for you guys. Clear water, stained water, muddy water, time of day, clear day, overcast day, and nighttime. So clear water, stained water, muddy water. Clear water obviously is clear. You can see through it. You can see down, maybe even to the bottom. Some places, I fish places out here, you can see down 10 feet plus. You can see straight down to the bottom. It's unreal. Stained water is usually, I would call that like a dark blue, maybe like a green. Those are usually my favorite waters to fish in, because you can usually see fish. You can see some structure just with the naked eye. I don't have fish finders or anything. I don't have a boat yet. So a stained water is something you can just kind of slightly see through. But the best thing is that fish aren't as skittish in those waters as they are in a clear water. So you can get by throwing a lot of different things in stained water. And also you can throw a wider variety of lures that don't scare them off as easy. And muddy water is just that. If you pull up to the lake and it looks like chocolate milk, you're going to want these colors I show you. You're going to want things that are loud. You're going to want things, if it's warm, top water is sometimes the best, something that makes a whole lot of noise that they can really key in on. Muddy water, I kind of find it fun sometimes because it's more of a challenge, but muddy water is not always fun to fish in. Super crystal clear water is not always fun to fish in. I mean, you really got to know what you're doing. A drop shot rig, which is you put a drop shot weight on the bottom, you put your hook up about a foot up, and then you put like a little, it's going to look like a minnow. Sometimes they use worms, sometimes they use crawdads. Those are great in clear water. I don't have any of those yet. I lost a bunch of lures last year because I fished super aggressive and I lose literally everything. But there's guys with videos on drop shot rigs. I'm sure I'll make some this year. But what I'm going to be showing you a lot is hard baits. I focused a lot on hard baits because that usually tends to be the most expensive parts of my fishing tackle. And since I was lucky enough, blessed enough, grateful enough to get a Bass Pro Shops gift card for Christmas, we went there today. I spent my Bass Pro Shops gift card on basically specifically hard baits. I don't think I ended up buying anything else. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to fish different depths, different water clarity, and different times of the day. So I'm going to start off with jerk baits. Now, this is a good clear water color. If you're familiar with bait fish, typically this dot means this is a shad pattern. You got a nice green color across the top here that looks natural. You got a little bit of scaling, and you got white on the bottom. This is going to imitate a shad, any type of bait fish, minnow, perfectly. Size, shape, color, everything. This is going to look pretty natural. That's good for clear water. Something that would be good for clear water or something like a stained water, and you may not be able to see this too good, I would probably fish this clear water because of the transparency, but it does have some flash on here with this holographic stuff, and it has a darker back. It also has the shad dots that they can key in on, and it also has this bright green belly. This is a Berkeley Cutter 110 Plus, and it's also a jerkbait, but I've been really wanting to try this, try these Berkeleys out, so I went ahead and got some with that gift card. And this is going to be something that you can do stained. You know, you got the bright green and the black and the bright green on the bottom. They can be stained and maybe clear, maybe partially clear. Something that would be good for a muddy or dark stained water would be something like this. This is just a Bass Pro jerkbait that I wanted to try out. It's just a little $2 bargain bin lure. Again, like I said, in fishing on a budget, sometimes those are the best because you're going to throw those where you wouldn't normally throw a $6, a $7, an $8, a $10 bait. Anything that's this gold color, which is flashy, it's a little flashy. You got some red, orange on the bottom. They actually put their shad dots on the bottom, which is different. I don't know why they did that, but it's a cheap bait. Doesn't matter. These fins, they can key in on these fins with the contrast here, the black on the gold, and then you got a black back. So that's good for like dirty, dingy water. Moving on to the next bait. These are Strike King Rage Blades. These usually go for about $6, $7. I got these on sale for $4 at Dick's Sporting Goods. This is a swim jig with a vibrating head on it. So that really calls the bass in. It moves a lot of water around. It actually makes noise by moving that water around. And it makes this whole mechanism back here kind of vibrate. And it makes the tail. I usually put probably a thicker swim bait on these for the other two colors I have. This was perfect because this is typically for clear water and you want a smaller presentation so you don't scare them. But this will look like a shad. This will look like a minnow when it's swimming because this skirt will pull up and it's going to look a lot smaller than, you know, with the skirt flying around. So in the water, it will pull up like this. So I'll shorten that down for these next two. These are the same two baits as what I just showed you. This is a green pumpkin color. And what this is going to imitate, sometimes if you run it across the bottom, this is going to imitate a crawfish, especially in our northern waters here in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio. Our crawfish tend to be this green color with some brown. I would probably put a Crawdad trailer on this because that is what I would be trying to imitate. A matching Crawdad trailer. If you were to put a thicker, maybe a taller, maybe a wider swim bait trailer on the back of this in the same color, you could actually get by with swimming this as a bluegill color. I mean, this is typically, you know, the same color as your bluegill. So you could fish this one or two ways, and this would be good for, depending on the forage. I mean, if you're fishing this as a crawdad, if you're fishing this as a bluegill, you could get by with clear, stained, and muddy water. So this green pumpkin color, you typically find green pumpkin on soft plastics and on jigs and on swim jigs like this, and maybe even some spinner baits. That is a great color. If you're wanting to just buy one bait, you can fish this in any water you find typically. And then this last one is black and blue. This is good for stained or muddy, and it's good to be, I typically will throw this one on the bottom with a Crawdad trailer on the back of it. I don't have any right now. They're all in the house put away. But this would be stained or dirty water. You can catch them. Clear water fish are crazy like that. It really probably wouldn't matter too much with that. But muddy, stained. And that is because this is a darker color. And that's going to show up better. The deeper you go, the muddier it is. This darker color is going to show up better than what a white will. It will retain its color deeper and it will retain its color better in a muddy situation. And that goes for anything. Hard baits, worms, it does not matter. Darker colors retain better in muddy water. Darker colors retain color better in deep water. Next up, I got some crankbaits here. I showed you guys this one in the last video. This is a Storm Arashi. It's kind of clear. It kind of looks like a shad. It kind of looks like a minnow. It even kind of looks like a pale bluegill. This is good for clear water. The noise would help if you ended up running into a stain situation, but this is clear. This is a clear watercolor. One way to note that is that you probably can't see it because of the holographicness of it. This lure is actually clear itself. So if the lure is clear, it would typically be used for clear water application. This next one I actually used to paint this pattern before I stopped painting. And it's the only one I've ever found this way, and you can only get it. It's a Bass Pro exclusive color. This is a Berkeley Digger, and it dives about 6 foot. But this is a white bass pattern. You could actually get by with maybe calling this a shad pattern, you know, if you looked at it like that. It just has a few extra stripes at the bottom, but, you know, that's a shad pattern. That would be good for clear water as well with a matte finish. So maybe it's clear on a cloudy day and you need something that maybe shows up a tiny bit better than that last one I showed you. Anything that's white with like some silver, maybe a little bit of black, maybe a black shad dot on the side is going to be killer. This next one, you could get by with stained water, you could get by with muddy water, you could get by down in the south where your crawdads are actually red and your fish are feeding on crawdads that day. You could even get away with this thing in clear water even, if you know you have red crawfish. Up here in Indiana, you don't see red crawfish very often, so this would be a muddy or a stained water application for myself. Down south, you could get away with all 3 colors. So that's just a crawfish imitation, though. This would dig across the bottom, and it would be like a crawfish. Now, I got a little bit of a tangle. This here is Fire Tiger. This is an old school pattern. This is on a Berkeley square bill. This is another Bass Pro Shops exclusive color, so I had to pick this up today. I mean, it is so cool. It looks like one of those bad 90s tribal tattoos. Sorry if you have one of those, but those are, from what I've been told, they're dated. I don't know, I think they're cool, whatever. So this is muddy water. I highly doubt, the only way you could really get away with this color is maybe in a stained situation where perch are present. I doubt you could even get away with this in a clear water because of how bright it actually is. I'm sure this doesn't do it justice, but if you've ever seen Fire Tiger, they are bright. I mean, they are bright lime green. So stained if you have a lot of perch around, maybe even bluegill, but this is definitely more of a perch with those like triangular bars. These are great in muddy water, though. They show up very well with that high contrast with the black on the lime green. They show up very, very, very well in mud. And these are, this actually has a 1-knocker. I didn't know that. Cool. These are pretty loud. So, muddy. Anything bright with like black like this is muddy. So these next ones, I got some lipless baits over here. Sorry for the delay. I got another tangle. So I have lipless crankbaits over here. I said in my last video, fishing on a budget, that I don't spend an awful lot of money on these because I throw these lipless baits as a search bait. So I'm throwing these lipless baits where probably nobody else wants to throw them. So I only spend like $2 a piece on them normally. This here is black and silver. This is going to look like a shad, or it's going to look like a minnow. Like I said earlier, same thing applies for this. This is clear water, maybe even stained since this one is so reflective. It's going to throw off a lot of sunlight. So you could even get by with something this reflective in a stain pattern. However, you can find these in gold, and those seem to work really well in stained and muddy water. And sometimes clear water if there's a lot of like golden shiners or baby carp around. But this silver and black one, good for minnows and shad. It's good in clear and stained water. Overcast days, sunny days, doesn't matter. Black and silver is about as natural as it gets. Can never go wrong with black and silver. Doesn't matter what brand you get, black and silver, way to go. This here is actually very similar to that black and silver. This is actually holographic on the side, but it's got the shad dot as well, and it's got a little yellow stripe running down it, and it's got a little bit different color on the top. But this would be good still for clear or stained water. Even more so with the stain with the yellow, it would throw off a little bit of a different color here. I'd probably throw this in stained water. Maybe not get as bit as much as the clear water, but it would still get bit. I'm almost certain that would still get bit. And now, just like the last set of crankbaits I showed you that had the Crawdad and the Fire Tiger, I've got Fire Tiger in the $2 Lipless Crankbait, and I've even got a Crawdad in the $2 Lipless Crankbait. Like I said, down south, this red color, you could get by clear water if they're eating red crawfish. Up here in Indiana, where we don't normally have red crawfish, I've seen a few, but very, 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 very few. You could get by stained, muddy, and it's going to imitate a Crawdad down on the bottom. This Fire Tiger, like I said last time, stained, muddy. Stained if you have a lot of perch or a lot of bluegill, and that's a stretch. These are super, super, super bright, high contrast. You're going to want to throw this in muddy or dark stained water almost exclusively. So next up, I got those Whopper Plumbers I was telling you about earlier, and what these are is a stationary buzz plug. So this tail actually spins on top of the water, and I will definitely get you guys a video when the water is clear up. You will see me using these a lot. I've heard great, great, great things about them. These work similar to a buzz bait. Buzz baits are great, usually with stained, muddy, and when it's dark outside or overcast. When the fish are schooling up and they're eating bait fish, that means shad, minnows, anything that is on the surface, and you can physically see those fish coming up and eating those bait fish, anything with this buzzing action is going to be amazing. It basically imitates a fleeing bait fish. So you throw this over top of a school, or you throw this along a bank, or anywhere where those largemouth are feeding opportunistic on those bait fish, and they got them trapped. They think they got them trapped, or they think they're running away. Anything that buzzes across the surface is great. Now, my fiance made me buy the black and yellow. Shout out to Martika. It is an actually really, really cool pattern after I got it out of the pack. I can see why she liked it. This is good at nighttime, anytime that the water is murky, anytime that the water is stained. This high contrast black and yellow, nighttime, murky, stained. That high contrast is going to tear them up. Additionally, the noise is going to help. If the water is stained, it's going to help the fish locate it. Now, these are two different sizes. I did that on purpose because I'm going to try to catch some striped bass on this thing. But this one's 5 inches long, and this one I think was 3.5. But this one, again, this is a clear color. I'll set that up there. Can't let anything touch the table, Dad said. So this is a clear color, and it's got the flake on the side. It's got a natural S color on the top, and it's clear on the bottom. Now this is going to be good, actually going to be good in everything because of the noise it puts off, but it's going to be mostly good in clear, sunny days, clear, overcast days, clear water, and probably stained water. I might even throw this thing at night if I can hear those stripers hitting the surface, those striped bass, just because it's a bit bigger and easier to locate than that smaller black one. But these Whopper Plumbers are really cool. They go anywhere between $11 and about $19, but depending on where you get them. And even used, this is a relatively new bait, so even used, they're not much less than that. So I just went ahead and picked some up. Like I said, I got a gift card for Christmas, so I went ahead and picked some of these up. But these do make a heck of a lot of noise on top of the water, similar to a buzzbait. But the best thing and my most favorite thing about this is you could pause these, and they float. A buzzbait sinks when you pause it. These float, so you can get those bass trailing it, pause it, let the bass catch up, pull it away from them, pause it, let them catch up, and that's going to make them angry, and it's going to make them want to strike this thing. So that's very, very cool. So lastly, actually not lastly, I got two more things for you guys, so bear with me. White popper. A popper is a topwater lure. It makes a little popping noise like a feeding bait fish or maybe a fish that's struggling to stay alive. It makes this cool little popping, spitting action on the top of the water. This one's all white with a little black dot, so this is going to look like a shad or a minnow. Honestly, I don't think anything beats an all white popper or an all black popper or a silver and black popper. But I went ahead and got some like crazy colors just to try them. Well, they're not even really that crazy, but I got a little bit different colors. These were $2 at Bass Pro Shops, and you can buy poppers, like I've been saying, anywhere up to like $15 if you want to. But a popper is just something that I use every now and then. I don't use them a whole lot, so I went cheap. So this is clear water, clear day, maybe an overcast day just because of the noise it makes, but clear water, clear day, maybe stained water because of the noise it makes, but clear day, clear water. This next one, this kind of looks like a little baby bass. You know, you got like the bass stripes down the side. I really honestly don't know what these speckles are for. Maybe a spotted bass because we got some spots up here. So this might be like a baby spotted bass, a baby largemouth. Maybe they're trying to imitate some sort of frog. This is a $2 bait. So sometimes the paint jobs are a little wacky. But silver on the bottom, black details, black top with like a olive green side. This is going to be good for clear water because of the silver and black. That's going to look like a minnow. It's going to look like a shad. It's going to look like a baby bass. It's going to look like a whole lot of things to a fish. And the popping noise, if you pop it slightly, it's going to be subtle. If you pop it hard, it's going to make a lot more noise. So if the water is clear and calm, you go subtle. If it's clear or if it's stained and maybe a little bit choppy, maybe the sky is overcast, you're going to want to do bigger pops to make it make more noise. I'm sure there are tons of videos already on YouTube, and I'm sure I'll hit on that eventually when I can make videos. So I will go into more depth on that another day. But something like this with the reflection, with the contrast in the black, that's going to be clear stained, and the noise is going to make it good for anything. But this last one kind of looks like a bullfrog. I like this because of the matte paint job. It's going to look really good in stained water. I highly doubt with this being a topwater bait that those fish will ever be able to see this. That's for us to make it look like a bullfrog. But anywhere where you have bullfrogs that are this color with the brown, with the yellow and the orange, you could get by with this in clear water. But I would probably fish this stained water where I live, muddy water where I live, maybe even at nighttime. I didn't see any black poppers. If I seen black poppers, I would have picked those up for nighttime. You would think that'd be a little bit redundant, but black holds its color better in low light conditions. So black is good for night. These lighter shad colors, the white and the black or the silver and black, that's good for more clear water daytime situations. And lastly, the same holds true for these frogs. Now I only have 2 of these and they're relatively the same color style. That's because it's not even close to summertime yet, and there's absolutely no reason for me to have these. These are a summertime bait when those frogs get active, those fish are feeding, and they are hitting on frogs. Late spring to early fall, this is like amazing, especially in the moss. However, clear day, clear water, white, with actually like a shad pattern even. This is a shad pattern on the side of this frog. But white with like a non-threatening color on the side and, like non-threatening colors on the back, that's good for clear day, clear water. Now, if you're throwing into like some heavy slop, you're throwing into moss, you're throwing into maybe pads where the water is actually shaded even if it is sunny, you're throwing into stained water, you're throwing into muddy water, you're throwing one of these at nighttime. That's why I picked this one up, because this one makes noise. You want to throw one of these at nighttime. You want something that's almost all black, maybe brown and black. You want something dark. Muddy water, you want something dark. Stained water, dark. Clear water, you want something light, non-threatening. So I think what I want you guys to take away from this is that buying colors does not have to be complicated at all. I'm going to show you one more time on these swim jigs. So, you got a clear day, you got clear water, you want to try to imitate a shad. White things, silver things, black thing, or white and black, silver and black, white and silver, those are going to look like shad, those are going to look like minnows in the water. Slightly murky days, you want to stick with something that's maybe a little bit darker but still natural. So something like a green pumpkin, which actually still works in clear water, works for everything. Murky or slightly murky, stained water. You want something that still looks natural, but it's going to retain its color a little bit better than that white. Light colors tend to fade quicker in the water. Now these medium colors are good for like medium visibility. These dark colors are good for no visibility, so nighttime. This goes for any style bait, not just these. Nighttime, muddy water, maybe it's just an abnormally dark day. Maybe you're fishing deep, you want something dark. And this, what little bit of sunlight does come down, will reflect. So, one more time. White, shad minnows, clear water. Light colored, you want natural things. You want things that are slightly clear and quiet. Stained, you want something kind of in between. You want something that looks natural but is a little bit darker. And then for dark water, deep water, murky water, you want something that is dark colored. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you guys have any questions, like always, feel free to comment. Feel free to send me a message. I'd be happy to help you guys with anything at all. I'll help you pick out baits. I'll talk to you about baits. I'll talk to you about fishing techniques, how to fish something, where to get it, what to do with it. And as always, tight lines and God bless.